We have a lot of people joining us today, so our mission will be to not crash Teams. Okay, so again, welcome everyone to the Indigenous Ways of Knowing and Being, presented by Elder Pat Green. We're so thrilled to have you with us here today. I will be your moderator for today, and we appreciate you all being here, and I hope that you are all staying safe and well. We have over 150 attendees from across the world joining us today. We're really excited about this event. We are committed to reconciliation with Indigenous people in the spirit of greater inclusion and continued allyship and respect and care for the first people of this land. We begin by offering the Territorial land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that Toronto is located on the traditional territory of many diverse nations. Toronto was originally home to the Haudenosaunee, the Wendat, and most recently, the Mississauga of the Credit. Toronto is covered by Treaty 13, signed with the Mississauga of the Credit and Chippewa bands. We also acknowledge that Toronto is home of many diverse First Nations, Métis, and Inuit today. This event is hosted by Surrey Place, a service organization in Toronto, Canada. We help children and adults living with developmental disabilities, autism spectrum disorder, visual impairment, and fetal alcohol spectrum disorder reach their full potential. We provide clinical services, groups and workshops, as well as extensive services to community agencies. And just before we get started, just a few general housekeeping for today in case you've joined us a little bit late. This presentation is an hour long. We don't have any intermissions. Again, just a gentle reminder to be sure that we're muted and our cameras are off. And if you have any questions, you can go ahead and put them in the chat, and we'll have some time at the end for Pat to answer some of our questions. And again, please note that this is being recorded. And without further ado, I introduce you to Elder Pat Green. Take it away.
Thank you very much. What I'm talking to you about is I'm saying hello, I'm greeting you, and I'm acknowledging your spirit. My name is Chude Hat, which means in English, I suppose, he walks even. I'm a Mohawk from 6 Nations, and my clan is the Wolf Clan. And I got my name a long time ago when I was younger. I've been traveling around Canada for over 70 years. And the chief and the clan mother gave me this name, and they knew what was going on in our communities. They knew what was happening and how we had become fairly dysfunctional in our family lives, fairly dysfunctional within ourselves, and they know and they knew that we needed someone to help guide men back to our traditional roles, to help our families get back into our traditional roles, and to I suppose get back into a healthy way of life. I've been traveling across Canada for a lot of years, more than I can count, really. In my younger years, when the educational system failed me, I started traveling around from one city to another city. I started traveling around from one Aboriginal reserve to another Aboriginal reserve, and spending time in ceremonies from different nations across Canada. And in those ceremonies, I discovered my own ceremonies. I discovered our ceremonies at home. I grew up as a Christian to my teen years, and I spent a lot of time in my teen years going to what we call Longhouse or Haudenosaunee, the ways of the Longhouse people. And it didn't make sense to me because I was impacted by residential schools. I was impacted by the educational system. I was impacted a lot of different ways, and I had a lot of anger in my spirit. I had a lot of anger in my body. And I knew the ceremonies. I knew a lot of our songs, and I knew a lot about who we are as Haudenosaunee, the people of the Longhouse. And it wasn't enough. So in my travels, spending time with other people from different nations and learning about their ceremonies and learning about their way of life, it really helped me appreciate who I am as a Haudenosaunee, as Ongohongwe Haudenosaunee, person of the Longhouse. And I spent a lot of time in myself. I spent a lot of time looking within myself. And if you know our people, you know that's part of our growth. That's part of who we are, is to be able to look within ourselves and see what needs to be changed and to make that change. You know, there's so much I want to share with you right now, and what's going on in our world, what's going on around the world, and what's going on in this universe. So many changes, so many things that are happening that are out there beyond our personal control. And with that comes a lot of stress, because we're constantly thinking about our role in the rest of the world. We're constantly trying to change our communities. We're constantly thinking about our families and what needs to be done in our families. And we don't give too much consideration to ourselves. And that's probably the most important place to be, because within ourselves, that's the only change that we have a hope to make within ourselves. And as we go along, and as we take a look at the Aboriginal way of living, it was a well-being from day one, from birth until adulthood. And there's so much to share on that part. So I'm going to make it very, very short. That in our very beginning, being born into this world, it was at one time it was a whole community, and the whole family were there to greet your spirit into this earth walk. And with that it came our obligation to teach you how to love yourself, and how to maintain your body, your mind, your spirit, and your emotions in a balanced way. As our thinking affects our emotions affect our feelings. When they affect each other, it affects our spirit, which goes on and affects our bodies. And a lot of the old people I spent time with, they say that's where a lot of dis-ease comes from. Not disease, but dis-ease. And as we carry that stress of the world, our community, our family, it creates a dis-ease in our body. It creates dis-ease in our way of thinking, in our spirit. And I can do a comparison right now and show you that stiff neck and that sore shoulders that you get, and that sore back every once in a while, is a direct result of the way we think and the way we feel. And our people knew that, and we lived that way for thousands of years. We lived that way, and that's who we are. And one thing I'll challenge you with right now, before we even go any further, is to understand Aboriginal people. You have to know about Aboriginal people. And I have a video I love to share, but I'll let you do that on your own. And I use Google. I use Facebook for a lot of things to keep my connection, to keep my interest going. And years and years and years ago, before Google, I was introduced to a film called More than bows and arrows. And what that talks about is the civilization that was here long before contact. It talked about agriculture. It talked about community and family development. It talked about farming. It talked about fishing. It talked about all the things that we have contributed to today's society. And as you know, we don't hear about those things. We learn about history. We don't hear about our story. And it's really important to consider, especially today, because we're looking at Aboriginal Day, acknowledgement of the Aboriginal experience and how it fits into our own societies. And the story goes that when you were born, you're given 4 gifts. You were given 4 fires. You were given a body, a mind, a spirit, and emotions. And as we make our way around this world, things happen. As we make our way around this world, we become abused, and we start abusing ourselves. And 3 of those fires will leave us. One goes off into the mountains, one goes off into the grasslands, and one goes off into the forest. And one stays no matter how bad we get beaten or how bad we beat ourselves. And that one fire will stay. If it goes down right down to a cinder, but it still stays, it hangs in there. And our ceremonies talk about when we start taking responsibility for ourselves physically and start making amends to past aggressions, that those fires feel welcome to come back. And in our ceremonies, we ask those fires to come back to this is now a safe place for you to dwell. And I wanted to share that because there's so many people around the world that have been affected by colonization. And I take a look around the world and I see what happened to other countries. I see what happened to other Indigenous people around the world. And I can really relate to that. I can really, really see how that was transferred from the other side of the earth to this side of the earth around contact time. And we've been living with the end results of that. Our people were dehumanized. Our people weren't looked at as human beings, so that whatever was happening, it was justified because they were just clearing the areas of things that were not human. And I really want to express that because we learned that in the educational system, we learned that in the residential schools, we learned that in all the other agencies that have affected our people, and even into the health hospitals in the health field, that we are discriminated against and not seen as whole human beings. You know, there's again, you know, my head is going around in circles to be as polite and to be as non-judgmental and not to have any resentments when I talk to non-native organizations and agencies, etc. And my way is not to bring any discomfort to anyone. But the truth that's happening around the world right now is a big discomfort to everyone. One of the biggest concerns we have right now is the 215, and that's that 215 children they found in a mass grave in Kamloops. And it came as a shock to the rest of the world, but to the native population right across Canada and the United States, it didn't come as a shock because we knew the stories. We knew what happened to our ancestors. We knew what happened to our grandmothers and grandfathers. In my case, my own sister and brother. And when I work with our people, I have them remember that we are the end results of 250 years of abuses, physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, were the end results. But the good thing from all of that with this new awakening is that now we can be the end of it. That for all those dysfunctional ways that we learned over the past 250 years, we now can accept the love and the compassion that our ancestors wanted us to have in the first place. That we can end those abuses and those dysfunctions in our families and communities by taking responsibility for ourselves. Our people are a forgiving people. Our ceremonies are about forgiving. Our ceremonies is about looking at our past and recognize the pain and the injustices, to recognize that and to let go, to let it go and make sense out of it within ourselves. And our ceremonies ask us to do that. Is to, in our own personal lives, we sit in a sweat lodge or we sit in a fasting lodge, and we look at what's important. One of our ceremonies is called the 10-day feast. And we have that at the end of 10 days after someone has passed on. And in that 10 days, the family is to sit in their grief and to let all of that grief out. And as we know, that grief is just the love that has no place to go. So at the end of that 10 days, the family say goodbye to that person or that spirit and remind that spirit that it has a journey from here to go back to Creator, to let go of memory, to let go of all those painful things that are symbolic in a funeral, so that we don't carry that over into the next part of our life. And when you listen to our ceremonies, all of our ceremonies ask us to do that, is to leave the pain behind because it's no longer affecting our lives, so that we can see tomorrow. When we're stuck in the past, emotionally and mentally, it's like walking backwards in a bush. When you walk backwards in a bush or in a forest, you fall down a lot. You can't see where you're going. So our ceremonies ask us to pull everything forward, our bodies, our minds, our spirits, and our emotions, to today, to this moment, so that we can turn around and see tomorrow. And as simplistic as that sounds, it's so remedial. I mean, it's so freeing, because to hold on and to be stuck in the past is not a really good place to be. Again, there's so much more to those ceremonies, and I just simplified them so that you can understand where we all are in this world right now, because we have so much in our past that we still haven't let go. There's so much in our histories that create a lot of anger, fear, resentments, and our ceremonies ask us to let those go. There's just so much. Our way of being is not one of anger, fear, shame, and guilt. Ours is a way to nurture ourselves physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, to take responsibility for the way we think, take responsibility to our emotions, our spirit, and our body. And that's something new in this past 50 years, because in the 1960s we were given a voice. In the 1960s we were allowed to have ceremonies. In the 1960s and 70s we were allowed to speak our language and to conduct our way of life again. So it's relatively new to us again, and there's still a certain amount of oppression that we live under. Some of that oppression is self-inflicted because we still haven't healed from a lot of that yet. So to speak my language, to sing my songs, to dance my dances, to be who I am, there's still a lot of fear about bringing that forward and sharing that with the outside world, because so much dysfunction in the world with racism and all those other things that are affecting us. You know, when I was younger and working in the field, I don't have a formal education. I guess I was one of the younger ones that were hidden in the field and hidden in the bush, so that when the RCMP and the church came to collect us and take us off to residential schools, we were taught to lay in the fields and be quiet so we weren't found. And I'm still the end results of that, and I still feel a bit nervous about exposing who we are. So I spent a lot of time with the old people. I spent a lot of time with people who were of the ways of well-being, about who we are as Aboriginal people. I did a talk one time, a very simple talk about the medicine wheel and its implication in treatment, addictions, and dysfunction in the community. But very simple. Our psychiatrist at Native Child and Family Services invited me to come and speak to a group, and they were all psychologists and psychiatrists and MSWs. And after I did the presentation, our psychiatrist came to me about a week later and he says, "Do you know who was there?" And I said, "No, I have no idea." He says, "The guru psychiatrist in Toronto was there." Now, this is the man that everyone goes to when they have problems with their clients. And after you left, he stood up and said, "That's the work I can't do." And I found that encouraging, because our elders are doing the work in helping our people overcome obstacles, emotional and spiritual obstacles, to regain well-being. And you know, at the very most, those elders maybe get an honorarium of maybe $350 a day, and the psychiatrists and psychologists are making tens of thousands of dollars a day working with our people, and they can't do the work. And I bring that forward to show you how important and how healing our ceremonies can be. I bring that forward because those are the interruptions that have happened in the past 250 years. Not learning those things from our elders. A long time ago, there was a guy named Governor Simcoe. You may have heard of him. He sent a letter, and it's not verbatim, but it's pretty close. Governor Simcoe sent a letter to the Haudenosaunee people years ago, and what he suggested that the Great White Father would like to give you the gift of education. And my then grandfathers and ancestors sat and they looked at that and they listened to it. And they asked this one person to respond to it. I think his name was Red Jacket, because he knew about writing. And in his reply, he said, Dear Governor Simcoe, we the Haudenosaunee people acknowledge how important education is to your people, and we know that. We sent two of our young boys into your education, and they went off and they were 5 and 6 years old. And you took them and you educated them. You took them to England and you educated them very well. And when you returned them to our village, they were totally useless. They knew nothing about our way of life. They couldn't hunt, They couldn't fish. They couldn't speak our language. They couldn't talk to the elders. What you had sent back to us indeed was a 5 and 6 year old boys again. And we had to start all over with those young persons. And it shows you the difference, and it shows you the effects of colonization as it has had on my people. You know, it's been a total change on who we are as people. But the good thing in it is that when we get back to our ceremonies and we get back to our ways, that we're such a forgiving people. Even in our languages, we're forgiven. We're forgiving people. Even in our languages, we extend acknowledgement to spirit, personal spirit. In one of my grandmothers told me that when we greet someone out in the bush or on the trail, wherever we're headed, and say go again, I go again. And then what she told me was that what that means is, are you of good mind and are you of good spirit? And if you're not, let me speak to you until you are. Let me sing to you until you are. And when we greeted a Anishinaabe or an Ojibwe person along the path, their response was "Bujo, bujo." And with that, what I understood and what I understand, are you then a bujo? Are you a great spirit? And if you understand that, and if you can see the relationship there, it was a very spiritual movement. It was very spiritual and acknowledging each other, not the human form, but the spirit in all. And that's how we conducted our lives. That's how we conducted our everyday living, is acknowledging the spirit around us, including the animals, including the trees, including the water, including the clouds, including everything. As a matter of fact, in our meetings, in our negotiating for our great law, 5 warring nations came together. 5 warring nations came together and declared peace on Turtle Island, or on Canada, United States. At that same time, the Ojibwe people were conducting their ceremonies to declare peace on Turtle Island. The Lakota people at that same time were declaring peace across Turtle Island, because we were tired of that. We were tired of the craziness of war. There's just so much. There's just so much, and it shows you how big an impact it was that we lived in that peace for such a long time, and then contact, and the effects of colonizations, and the effect of contact, and how it's oppressed, and how it's committed genocide over this past 3, 4, 500 years. And I want to get past that point, because I want to get past that because I do not want to stay stuck in that. And what we bring to you is the truth, our truth. What we're bringing to you is who we are, with all the fears of it being ridiculed, with all the fears of it being minimized, and all the fears of being dehumanized again, as they have in history. So when we take a look at who we are as Aboriginal people, from day one, we're taught about well-being. We're taught about the safety in being in that healthy family, where the family took care of the child, and the upbringing, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, to adulthood, with age-related behaviors to go along with that. And I refer to some of the males and some of the females that we've seen in our lives, and I really believe it. You know, it's a worldwide thing that those angry people who yell and kick and scream to get their own way. It's that adult behavior. And it's a pretty good indicator that these rites of passage weren't put through. The, uh, the, the, the nurturing physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, from childhood to adulthood, that creates that sense of well-being. And in replacing those ceremonies, the things that were given to us were your first drink, your first alcohol, your first sexual experience, good, bad, and or ugly, uh, all those firsts out there. Which one would you want for your children? Which one would you want to share with your children? So I bring these things forward because I think there's, it's a pretty good example. It's a pretty good example of who we were at one time and who we are getting back to be. See, our ceremonies were never meant to be remedial. Never, ever. They are meant to be preventive from day one to where we are as adults. So, and I have to tell you, being the peaceful people that we are, being the peaceful person that I am, that I'm not coming here to create any disruptions in your lives or your thinking or your emotions. That I come here to create understanding and help to bridge some of the gaps that we are all running into. And the best way that I know how to deal with that is to learn from you, to learn about your ceremonies, to learn about your God, your Buddha, your Allah. So the more I learn about you, the more I learn about myself, and I really like this. So this time that we're sitting in this solstice time, it's asking us in our ceremonies to let go of all those resentments and hurts that we collected in this past year, to leave them back there, to give thanks for all of creation, to give thanks for what's coming to us and what's coming at us. And I really, really hope that we can all do that today, to let go of all of those things that don't need to be carried over into the next part of the year. And most of our ceremonies ask us to do that. And our ceremonies are constant. Our ceremonies are constant to maintain our own mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual well-being. So there's so much more I could talk to you about as when we talk about the ceremonies and the individual ceremonies and the sameness of our ceremonies. And I really know that we are all indigenous from somewhere. We all had people who lived with the soil. We all had people who lived with the seasons and knew the seasons. We all had dirt under our fingernails. So I like to start with that part. I like to acknowledge that we are all indigenous to somewhere, and I want to acknowledge your indigenism. And just to remind you that we have all been affected by colonization, no matter what indigenous country we come from. So we all have something in common. So we can either leave all of that behind and walk forward, or we can get immersed in the pain. We can get immersed in that hurtful history. So I just wanted to share that with you, and I want to thank you for letting me come and share some of these things. There's so much more. I wish we had weeks. I wish we had months to really experience the Aboriginal life, so that you can see the benefits that if we acknowledge each other, if we acknowledge each other and respect each other, the potential for peace in our communities, the potential for peace in our country, and around the world. I think, I'd like to hear from you. I'd like to hear from you, and then probably what's the one thing that you're picking up today? What's the one thing that sticks out to you that may be helpful, or may it raise some questions for you? What's the one thing?
I'll read the comments out to you as they come in.
Sure.
And just for myself, thank you. I feel very, very grateful to be a part of this today. If anybody wants to write anything, I'll try to read them out as fast as I can. First comment is, we have a lifetime ahead of us to continue to learn and grow, and I look forward to learning and teaching my children as they grow. From Heather.
I try to remind everyone that we are now the new ancestors. And what do we want to pass on to future generations?
Body health is mental health, and vice versa. We are all Indigenous somewhere. What a powerful statement. Still processing information, a lot of important and thoughtful information. Thank you, Pat, for sharing your experience, strength, and hope. For that is what I heard from you today. May we move forward together. Thank you, Michael. I feel the same. That was perfectly said. Not walking backwards like in a bush. The way that you have explained some of these things to us have been really impactful.
There's an old saying, and I took it on as to be an old Mohawk saying. Do not lead, I may not follow. Do not follow, I may not lead, but walk with me and be my friend.
I hope there is more attention being paid to Indigenous learning now. Glad to see the U.S. has chosen Debbie, and hope that we can start the start of a greater recognition elsewhere. Grief is love that just has no place to go. Melissa absolutely loved that. I think I have them all. I'm going to go backwards into the bush, Pat. They came in so quickly. I want to make sure that I've got it all. Thank you so much, Pat. People really appreciate the way that you talked to us. It felt very inclusive, is what I'm also reading. And also that the work that needs to be done has really resonated for many people who have joined us today. Thank you for sharing of yourself. And people look forward to putting into practice what we've learned today with you. People want more information, want to know where to find it, about medicine. I think so many of us now are just beginning to learn, right? Now everybody wants more information. Thank you for sharing of yourself. I will put into practice. Let go. Give thanks. You just recited one of my favorite quotes. Do not lead. May not follow. People are sharing some links if people want to pay attention to those on some podcasts and information that people have found helpful or informative.
Also on Google, there's another video I'd like you to check out, and it's called "They Lied to You in School,"
Mm.
and it shows you what it shows is the contribution that all four races have brought to Canadian society and American society. It talks about inclusion,
Mm-hmm.
and you know the scariest thing that it may sound like a racist comment, but it's getting to be it's not a white man's world anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to acknowledge everything that everyone around the world has contributed to today's society, and it's I think that's really important.
Thank you for that. Something up here I want to read too from Melanie. Pat, I'm sure many like me would like to know how to help and amplify the voices of Indigenous people. Do you have a wish list for political changes?
Do I ever?
That might be a whole other workshop, right?
I certainly would. Um, I think just the educational part is a biggie at this moment because it's so needed. And like I said, you know, that the things that I share are things that were here long before contact that aren't included in Canadian history. And I really think that, you know, more education on Aboriginal experience, not just from Canada, but from around the world. And I have a lot of friends from Australia, I have a lot of friends in New Zealand, around the world. And we're all in that same boat where we're all dealing with European history as opposed to world history,
Mm.
Indigenous history. And I think that that's much needed. So if there's anything that that I'd like to see happen, it would be that.
Thank you.
You know, I wish we could get together because I wish we could sit in circle because every one of you who are listening and every one of you who are taking part of this are so important on this next move when whatever we're going through. And I really believe that if we can clear some of those old thoughts that don't belong there anymore, when we
Mm-hmm.
can clear some of our emotional responses to each other, the fear, the anger, the shame, the guilt, and we can move those out of the way, then I really believe we'll open our eyes to what we want for our children, what we want for our grandchildren. I think that's really important, as well as you are important. And what I want you to know, it's not your fault.
Mm.
It's not your fault what happened to Aboriginal people around the world or in Canada.
Yeah.
And I think we need to hear that. I think we need to say it. That there's a chance for renewal. There's a chance to explore each other and to acknowledge and appreciate each other. And we can't do that if you're feeling the shame and the guilt of things that have happened to Aboriginal people in our histories.
Thank you for that. I think a lot of us are here feeling a lot of feels, and to hear that from someone like you, I think is really special. I know I can tell you that got me. So thank you.
Oh,
Yeah. Thank you so much. A lot of the comments now are just really, connecting that our Indigenous people have so much to teach us, and that people are really thankful for you taking the time with us, particularly now.
I guess my question is, what's one thing that you can do to create that conversation? What's one thing that you can do to show support? And you know, I have a lot of people ask me that same question, and uh, I really believe that it is the education. It is about contacting the local politicians to have at least acknowledgement and I guess, to really include us into the history of Canada.
Hmm. Yep.
And I guess one of the biggest biggie right now is just an apology from the Pope.
Mm. Yeah. Lots of healing that needs to happen.
Definitely, definitely. And it's not just the Aboriginal people that need to be healed. I mean, we're looking at centuries and centuries and centuries of dysfunction and dysfunctional way of being.
Mm-hmm.
We had it on well-being.
Yeah. I just wanted to just read out a comment to your question. What we can do is we can urge our MPs to act on the calls to action.
I want everybody to know that your idea is much needed, because sometimes we run out of ideas from our perspective, and some of our ideas come out of resentments and anger. But your idea, however small you may think it is, just might be the biggie that's needed.
Yeah. We have this amazing opportunity to make change. Finally, right?
Yes, yes, yes. And I want to be part of that. I want to be the ancestor that my great 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 grandchildren look back and say, "Well done, Papa."
Oh, yes. People are talking about, and I love this idea, using children's books by Indigenous authors and educators for children, our next generation, to teach them while they're young. Yeah. For all of us to be open to learning.
And I really believe that that the medicine wheel teachings around uh, maintenance of body, mind, spirit, and emotions, that's applicable to just about anyone. How well are you maintaining your body?
Mm.
How well are you maintaining your mind and your own thought processes? How well do you know that? How well do you know your emotions? Most people only know 3 or 4 emotions, but there's hundreds. There's hundreds of emotions. And how well do you know your personal spirit? Not God or anyone else, but your personal spirit, and how that connects to God. How your personal spirit connects to the spirituality of your people.
Yeah. You're speaking my language.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. Back to the roots of it all, right? It's and I think that we have this opportunity because of what's happening with the pandemic to really pause and readjust and listen and watch and connect with the things that are important. I love that you have mentioned that.
I want you to know that I don't consider myself an elder. I consider myself a man of experience and limited knowledge on who we are as Aboriginal people. And I've been noted across Canada and the United States, and uh, people know my name.
Mm-hmm.
And it was given to me a number of times, a pipe. And I am a pipe carrier, and that it doesn't make me a holy man. It just gives me something to maintain myself. So after today, after the day's over, I'm taking my pipe and I'm going to go out and I'm going to smoke my pipe. And in that, as I'm smoking, I'm going to clear my own mind.
Mm.
As I clear it, I'm going to open up my eyes. I'm going to wash my eyes out with that smoke. Then I'm going to wash out my ears so that I can hear what's being said. Sometimes we only hear what we want to hear.
Mm.
And then as I take that smoke in, clear that pathway from my mind to my heart, so that the words that I speak are good, kind words, and they don't hurt someone else's spirit. They don't hurt someone else's feelings, and they don't interrupt somebody else's well-being. And I think that's really important. So I wish I could see everybody's face, because I'm going to be lighting my pipe for you this afternoon, and I'm going to be sending our prayers out to Creator, to Allah, to God, to Buddha, to all the higher powers today, so that we find that pathway to peace. And there's one. Hi, Lara.
It's such a wonderful way to end our time, and how incredible that you are going to again give back and give more to us at the end of the session today. Thank you.
You're really important.
Oh.
You are. You don't give yourself enough credit how important you are. And I see a lot of women on here, and I want you to know that in the 1920s, when the women got their voice, we danced really hard for that. And giving thanks. We celebrated that you finally have a voice, that you are no longer chattel, that you are a human being with all the rights of a human being, and we prayed really hard for that. In our societies, our women always had a voice. In our society, women always had a say in the community development and our spiritual development and emotional development. So I'm going to be acknowledging that this afternoon when I light my pipe, and I'm going to be praying that whatever's going on in your life today, whatever hurt that you have to deal with, that you find the strength to let it go, that you find the strength to express your emotions, identify your emotions and express them, that you find a way to clear your mind, to let all of that go. And I think those things are really important. We don't get that encouragement very often, because we're told to suppress. Oh, no, don't cry. No, it doesn't matter. Don't think that way. No, don't feel that way. And my gosh, we've put up with that for 250 years, and it creates a lot of dysfunction within ourselves. So today I'm going to ask for that freedom, that you can express yourself. I'm going to ask for that freedom that you can be you without all those masks, that you find out how important you are, and to start doing things for yourself as opposed to everybody else in the family, in the community, and the rest of the world. That's not your responsibility. So I'm going to pray that you find the strength to let that go. I know it's scary. I know that process is very scary, but I do know the end result is fantastic. That you don't have to carry that burden. You don't have to have that sore neck and that sore shoulders and that sore back. So when we talk about well-being, that's what we're talking about here from my experience. Identify your emotions, express your emotions, then you understand your emotion, then you understand the situation, and then change. Identify, express, understand, and change. So I'm going to offer that to you as a gift from myself, because I hope that someday we can meet, and I hope that someday we can sit and light pipe together and really appreciate each other's experience and really appreciate each other's histories in Indigenous. I love that part. I love who you are. I don't know you, but I love who you are and the potential for I guess that's next generations. I want things really well for your great grandchildren. I want them to look back on you and say, that's what Pops did. That's what Grandma did. That's what they did. Yeah. Imagine that. And you're worth it. Like I said, I haven't met you. I don't know you, but I do know that you're worth it. Creator didn't put you down here for no reason. Creator didn't put you down here to live an unhealthy life. So I'm glad that you come and spend some time with me today. I'm glad that you are open-minded enough to hear some of the things I said. I'm looking forward to that meeting. I'm just going to scroll through here and see who's all on here. So if you can see me right now, I can see you. You can wave. Oh, it's not going anywhere.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
Hi, it's an honor to meet you and learn from you. As a settler myself, I studied Aboriginal history back in 2005 as part of my human rights law degree. And I really, really admire your strengths, but I also believe that the implementation of TRC are really, really necessary to literally to start reconciliation and right the wrongs of the past. There's no other way about it.
Thank you for that acknowledgement. It just means the world to me and my children and my grandchildren.
You're welcome.
You would love my grandchildren.
I would, for sure. And I attended many ceremonies, smudging, and I had Aboriginal professors. So I really immersed myself into Indigenous history. And it's just mind-blowing to me to actually, took us almost 20 years to the mainstream society actually realize that what happened in the past is genocide. And it took the pandemic to actually see the true history of Canada.
Oh, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
I have a few extra moments if anybody else wants to share. I love this part. This is where things happen when we share and we see each other's face and we can hear each other's voice. This is when things happen. This is the way it's supposed to be when we sit around the table and have coffee at grandma's and all the other aunties are there and we're talking about what's going on. That's what this is all about. This is culture. This is culture, to share, hear, understand, encourage.
I think that even though we're all virtual, there's this very strong feeling of connection here today. And I know that I can say on behalf of Surrey Place and people who have sent me messages that we will all be forever changed in this short hour of spending this time with you. And it couldn't have come at a better time. And there's so many comments of thank you. And your kindness and your wise words are so amazing. So thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you. And I wanted to show you this.
Yep, same. Good. I don't have that part, but orange, yes.
All lives matter.
Yeah.
And I live by that. So thank you very much. And I'm looking forward to meeting you one by one or in a group or however that happens. And I know things going to be okay for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Things are going to be all right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.
So long.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. You'll receive a link for your feedback. We'd love to hear back from each and every one of you. Thank you so much for being here with us today. We look forward to seeing you again, and have a wonderful week and rest of your Monday. Thanks, everyone.